Abbreviated new drug application, that is ANDA, is a generic application for the US market. Generic products or generic formulations are required to be stable, robust, bioequivalent to the reference formulation. ANDA is a request submitted by the ANDA applicant to the US FDA for approval to manufacture and market the generic drug product. ANDAs or generic products may be submitted to the FDA through different paragraphs like para 1, para 2, para 3 and para 4. Some ANDAs are first to file type of ANDAs and some are with the para 3 application, and these will be marketed, or these are proposed to be marketed after the patent expiry of the reference listed drug or the innovator. ANDA submissions and ANDA products allow the applicant to reference the safety and effectiveness data of the already approved drug in the US market. Already approved drug is the brand drug. It is called as a reference listed drug, and the data of the safety and effectiveness of the RLD is referenced in the generic application called ANDA. It facilitates the availability of cost-effective alternatives in the US market uh, through the generic applications of ANDA. Purpose of ANDA is the application of generic products and request of the applicant to market the generic formulation in the US market. The primary goal of ANDA is to streamline the approval process for generic drugs while ensuring they meet the same standards of safety, efficacy, and quality as the brand name counterparts. So, generic applications, ANDA, these have similar safety, efficacy, and quality as per the reference listed drugs. And the ANDA applications helps to reduce the drug cost and increases accessibility of the medication for the patient population. Generic drugs are those drugs which are equivalent to the reference formulation in terms of the safety, efficacy, quality, and therapeutically these are equivalent. So the generic formulations can be used interchangeably with the reference formulations or brand formulations. Key requirements for the ANDA approval. So what are the key requirements for ANDA approval? What are the quality requirements? And what are the safety and efficacy requirements? All these requirements are related to the safety and effectiveness. Active ingredients must be same as per the reference listed drug, that is RLD. Dosage form and strength should match the reference listed drug. Route of administration must be identical to the RLD. Quality and performance must meet the established standards. One of the most important requirement is stability. Stability should be equal to or better than the reference formulation. The generic product or ANDA should demonstrate the bioequivalence. The generics must demonstrate equivalent bioavailability compared to the RLD, and this comparative bioavailability is studied through the bioequivalence testing. ANDA submission process. It involves stages like preparation, submission, review, and approval. So preparation involves collecting the necessary data for formulation, bioequivalence, and manufacturing. CMC data is required to be submitted. Submission involves use of FDA Electronic Submission Gateway ESG for ANDA filing. Review. The FDA evaluates the application for compliance with the regulatory requirements. And approval. Upon approval, the generic drug can be marketed. These are the main stages or process of the ANDA submission. Now, see the brief differences between NDA, ANDA, and 505(b). These all are the applications submitted to the US FDA. NDA is totally a new drug application and it involves all the clinical and preclinical data and the cost and timelines are much higher. Timelines are longer for NDA. Then come to the ANDA. ANDA doesn't require any clinical and preclinical trials for submission, but it requires bioequivalence studies. ANDA is called as generic drug approval and it is known as ANDA abbreviated new drug application. The cost is lower compared to NDA and time is also shorter. Now 505B2. So 505B2 is a hybrid type of application and it is used for the modifications of existing drugs requiring additional clinical studies. So as per the claim of the 505B2 application, the studies are required. ANDA is exactly generic equivalent of the NDA. ANDA approval timelines. Once you file the ANDA, how much time it will take to get it approved? FDA requires the time to review the application and the FDA is required by law to review the ANDA applications within 180 days. But actual approval may take up to 30 months depending on the complexities. The FDA aims to assess and act on 90% of the standard original ANDAs within 10 months of the submission and 90% within 30 months for all the ANDAs. So as per the government rule, as per the timelines of FDA, the 30 months is the timeline for approval. Priority reviews may be granted for drugs addressing public health needs. So based on the requirement of the public health needs, the priority reviews can be done. Resources for ANDA submission. There are some resources that can be used like FDA website is there to provide the guidance, documents, forms, submission requirements. Then ESG is the electronic submission gateway and it is a preferred method for regulatory submissions. Then the ANDA applicants can also consult some of the firms who can assist with regulatory compliance and application preparation. Now see the FAQs on ANDA. Many of the times the professional may have some questions or some questions may be asked in the interviews on the ANDA. What is required to get a generic drug approved under an ANDA? So quality parameters should be demonstrated, stability should be demonstrated and bioequivalence should be demonstrated. Generic applicants must have bioequivalence to the RLD in terms of safety, efficacy and quality. Unlike NDAs, ANDAs do not require new clinical trial data. So based on the bioequivalence, the ANDA can be submitted and approved. How long does an ANDA approval take? While the FDA must review within 180 days, a full process can take up to 30 months due to complexities in the approval process. Also, this approval process involves the query on the data, query on the ANDA application, and applicant has to provide the response to those regulatory queries. What is the main difference between NDA and ANDA? So, NDAs require full clinical trials for new drugs, while ANDAs rely on bioequivalence studies to approve the generic drugs based on the existing data. NDA are the new drug applications and ANDA are the generic versions of the NDAs. In conclusion, ANDA plays a vital role in making affordable medications available to the public. Also, the generic applications helps the public by providing the cost-effective medicines and medicines availability. By streamlining the regulatory process, ANDAs ensure that safe and effective generic drugs reach the market faster, increasing competition and reducing the healthcare costs. Because generally the brand name drugs are higher in cost compared to the ANDAs. Knowledge of the ANDA is very much required by the professionals or for the professionals whoever are working onto the generic products for US market. And ANDA generic application is required to be of high quality and meeting the high quality standards regulatory requirements to get approved in for the marketing in the US. Thank you for watching the video. and I request you to please do like, share and subscribe to this video. Share with your friends and colleagues so that this knowledge can be spread to the professional involved in the pharma field. Thank you.